Chapter 1. The Morning Ritual. John Drake Jr. sat at his usual table outside a cafe on Commercial Road, South Yarra, the morning sun warming his face, a flat white steam beside him, and a copy of The Australian lay open on the table. To the casual observer, he was just another well-dressed professional enjoying Melbourne's cafe culture, but Drake was anything but ordinary. The son of a legendary British secret agent, John Drake Sr., he had grown up in Melbourne after his father retired from the espionage game and moved the family to Australia. Drake Jr. had inherited his father's sharp mind and sense of duty, and after being headhunted at Melbourne University, he joined the ranks of Australia's intelligence agencies, ASIO and ASIS. Drake's safe house was a modest one-bedroom flat on the top floor of a building on Punt Road, near the intersection with Commercial Road. It was a perfect location, close enough to the action but discreet enough to avoid attention. His mornings were often spent at sidewalk cafes, sipping coffee and reading the news, before returning to his flat to plan his missions. Today, however, was different. His iPhone buzzed with a secure message from ASIO headquarters, an unmarked building near the corner of Wells Street and Dorcas Street in South Melbourne. The message was brief but urgent. Number station detected. Frequency 151.875 MHz FM VHF. Location Murrumbeena. Mission: secure cipher pads, disable transmitter, trace sleeper cells. Threat: water supply sabotage. Proceed with caution. Drake finished his coffee, left a generous tip, and made his way back to his flat. The mission was on. Chapter 2. The Murrumbeena Signal. The target was a modest two-story walk-up flat in Murrumbeena, near the railway station. The building was a relic of the 1960s, its peeling paint and rusted fire escape a testament to its age. Drake's research had pinpointed the transmitter to the top floor, with the antenna hidden in the roof, a quarter-wave ground plane, cleverly concealed. That evening, Drake prepared for the mission. He donned a dark jacket, slipped a compact toolkit into his pocket, and checked his equipment: a miniature camera, a stun gun, and a handheld spectrum analyzer. He left the flat and made his way to Murrumbeena, taking a circuitous route to avoid detection. The flat was dimly lit, the air thick with the faint hum of electronics. Drake scaled the fire escape and slipped inside through an ajar window. He found the transmitter in a small room, its laptop displaying a stream of numbers. A stack of one-time cipher pads lay beside it. Drake quickly photographed the pads and disabled the transmitter, cutting the power supply with a pair of wire cutters. As he worked, he heard footsteps in the hallway. He crouched behind the door, his hand reaching for the stun gun. The door creaked open, and a figure stepped inside. Drake moved swiftly, disarming the man and rendering him unconscious with a precise strike. A quick search of the man's pockets revealed a set of keys and a note with an address in Toorak. Chapter 3. The Toorak Connection. The address in Toorak led Drake to a sprawling mansion hidden behind high walls and wrought iron gates. The property was a fortress, with CCTV cameras covering every angle and motion-activated spotlights illuminating the grounds. Drake knew he couldn't approach directly. Instead, he spent the next 2 days observing the property from a distance, noting the routines of the guards and the comings and goings of delivery trucks. On the third night, Drake made his move. He scaled the wall at a blind spot between cameras and slipped into the garden. Using a handheld jammer, he disabled the security system long enough to gain access to the house through a basement window. Inside, he found a high-tech command center. Screens displayed real-time data on the water supply system, and a map of southern Victoria was marked with potential targets. A group of men and women, dressed in casual attire that belied their sinister intentions, were discussing the final stages of their plan. Drake moved silently, planting listening devices and miniature cameras throughout the room. He needed evidence to bring down the entire network, not just the individuals in this house. As he worked, he overheard a conversation that sent a chill down his spine. The attack was scheduled for the following night. Chapter 4. The Raid. Drake returned to his safe house and immediately contacted his ASIO and ASIS handlers. The evidence he had gathered was enough to authorize a raid on the Toorak mansion. A joint task force was assembled, and plans were put in place to neutralize the sleeper cell before they could carry out their plot. That night, Drake led the task force to the mansion. The raid was swift and precise. The enemy agents were caught off guard, and within minutes, the entire network was in custody. The water supply was safe, and the threat had been neutralized. As the sun rose over Melbourne, Drake stood on the balcony of his safe house, sipping a cup of coffee. The city was waking up, oblivious to the dangers that had been averted. For John Drake Jr., the work never stopped. He was the danger man, a guardian of the unseen, and Melbourne was his city to protect. Chapter 5, The Legacy continues. In the weeks that followed, Drake's actions were quietly celebrated within the intelligence community. The one-time pads he had secured provided valuable insights into the enemy's operations, leading to the dismantling of several other sleeper cells across the country. Drake's father, now in his 80s and living a quiet life in the Dandenong Ranges, called to congratulate him. "You've done well, son," the elder Drake said. "But remember, this is just one battle. The war never ends." Drake smiled. He knew his father was right. The world was full of shadows, and someone had to stand watch. For John Drake Jr., that was more than a job, it was a calling. And so, as the sun set over Melbourne, Drake returned to his desk, ready for the next mission. The Danger Man legacy lived on. Epilogue. Cafe Society. The following morning, Drake was back at his usual table on Commercial Road, a flat whites in hand and the Australian Open on the table. To the casual observer, he was just another young professional enjoying the cafe culture of South Yarra. But behind his calm demeanor, Drake's mind was already racing through the details of his next mission. The world was full of dangers, but for John Drake Jr., there was no place he'd rather be. Melbourne was his city, and he was its guardian. The Danger Man legacy lived on, one mission at a time.